Years ago, when I was doing my master's program, one of the questions I asked in my thesis was, what does it take for a theater to run for hundreds of years? I mean, I'd seen the likes of Shakespearean plays running in the UK for over 100 years, and year after year, people trooped the theater to see it. What were they doing differently? Now, fast forward to 2025, I walked into Broadway and I went to see Lion King and Aladdin. And oh my God, packed theater. And I learned that, these shows were running every single day except Mondays for weeks. And in fact, Lion King had been running for close to 30 years. And the shows were spectacular. So I understood why people would want to see this show every single day, every single week for all these years. Now, coming back to Ghana and running an institution or a theater and dance, company that is training the next generation, I asked myself the same question. How do we prep the next generation to take our productions globally? Now, right here, we have our festivals, we have rich history and stories that we can definitely, package and take it globally. And really, we have the likes of Chief Moment doing just that. But we need to multiply that. And so the question is, what are the systems? What are the structures we need to put in place to ensure that we package our stories and we make it an art form that brings people from outside the country to come and see it in Ghana? So two ways. We get people tourists trooping into our country to see it. And also we take it on a tour around the world because people today want to see African storytelling. So today, my guest is author and actor Tryphena Wade, who has been working on Broadway for close to 10 years. And she's right here on Affluence with Vivi to share her experience. Now, last year I was in New York and I had the honor of seeing Lion King and Aladdin. And I was blown away. In fact, when we hear Broadway, we are thinking glamour, we are thinking applause, we are thinking standing ovation, old, in fact, a packed theater. But what's the real story?
Well,
what don't we see?
That's part of the story.
Okay.
The applause, the glamour, packed theaters, hopefully. If your theater's not packed, you might have a problem. That's part of the story. But there's also a lot of work. There's a lot of sacrifice. There's a lot of sweat, long hours, all of that. All of that goes into it. Yeah.
Let's use this moment to hear your story and your journey. So take us to the beginning and walk us through the key milestones of your life.
Yes, the beginning from my birth.
I would love that. When did you discover art? How did you get here? Tell us all about it.
Well, I was really interested in performing, dance, theater, acting, all of those things from the time I was a small child. My parents took us to see theater. I'm from Columbus, Ohio in the U.S., so a lot of touring shows came through our city, and we saw a lot of shows. We saw a lot of theater. I took dance classes from the time I was really small, and so I loved it. And I loved watching TV and kind of seeing myself reflected on TV. And I was also I was just in awe of it. I didn't fully understand what was happening. I didn't know what to call it, but I knew that it made me feel something. So I felt that way from the time I was a small child. And I did theater in school, in elementary school, in high school. And I decided to major in musical theater when I went to college. So I went to college at Howard University and I studied there, received my BFA there. And from there, I just started working professionally. I worked in DC. I moved to New York. I worked there. I worked overseas. I did a cruise ship. I worked on a cruise ship for 9 months, singing and doing shows on the cruise ship. And then from there, I booked The Lion King about a year after coming off the ship, and I was on tour for 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and then on Broadway for 4 years. So Lion King had took up about a decade of my life. Yeah, yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Do you want to add more? I
No,
don't know.
no, you can go ahead. There's so much more I could add, but I don't wanna I'll let you go.
I'm curious to know, and was there a point in your journey where maybe your parents or your family said, you know what, do you think you can live, as an artist, you can survive as an
Mm,
artist?
mhm.
I'm asking this question because you said you started early
Yeah,
and you studied it in school. So
yeah.
at what point did you study it professionally?
Not until I went to university.
Okay.
So I was always in plays in school, and we did plays at our church. But I didn't really start studying professionally until I went to university. Um, and thankfully, my parents never discouraged me.
Mm.
I actually found out later in my life, once I was an adult, after I had studied and after I had had some success, I found out that there were questions from other family members and some challenges, but my parents kind of shielded me from that, which I'm really thankful for that because there was never any discouragement coming from my parents. There was never any sense of, you have to choose something else. You're not going to be successful. This won't be lucrative. I never got that feeling from my family. Um, and I'm really thankful for that because that causes a lot of people to pause or to, choose a different course of study or a different career instead of doing what they really desire to do. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
And since you were, I mean, as a child, you were in, productions. You were
Hmm.
exposed to, the performing arts
Yeah.
way before you went to the university. So,
Hmm.
how did that influence,
Yeah.
what you did at the university? How did that make? Did that make any impact?
Yeah.
Um,
I think it was a small impact. From doing those productions in school and even at church, I just knew that I loved it. I knew that it was fun. When I was
mm,
doing it, I felt like I was having a good time. And it felt like something that was just in me. I
mm,
didn't feel like I had to work hard or push hard or try to manufacture it. It felt kind of natural. And so then when I went to school, school is difficult because it takes the natural thing and it starts to form it and shape it, which can feel very jarring. Um, I I think of like, a big lump of clay that's has so much potential, but if you want a vase, you've got to do something to it to get that. And so
right.
that's what school does. So school is can be hard, but it prepares you for the real world and gives you the tools that you need to succeed. So yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now let's come to structures because you've
Mhm.
been in an industry where there's some it seems everything seems to be very structured
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
outlined and all that.
Yeah.
And you have experienced some theater in Ghana. You've been here for a while.
Yes.
Even recently, just about a week or so ago, you witnessed addiction. So,
Yes.
what would you say some structure? There are some. I mean, what structures would you say can help us or could
Mhm.
benefit us
Mhm.
that you have experienced?
Yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, the show was amazing. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. So congratulations to you and all the dancers. It was wonderful. One of the things that I've wondered about is the trajectory of a young artist. In the States, we have, university education and we have conservatories. There are so many schools you could go to if you want to study
Mhm.
dance or theater or acting or anything at a professional level. Um, but one of the things that I've wondered about is after the schooling happens, what is the
Next.
trajectory of that artist? Are there systems in place here to kind of nurture that and to kind of provide guidance toward a career? Or, um, do they need to go somewhere else? And I know that's something we discussed
Yeah.
earlier, just theater companies, production companies, unions, like there's a big union structure in the US. There's a union for everything. If you do theater, Broadway, there's a union for that. If you do TV and film acting, there's a union for that. If you do voiceovers, there's a union for that. And so those unions provide kind of the standards, the base level standards for what you should be able to expect if you're doing a job that is backed or supported by the union. So things like base level salary, if you're doing a union theatrical production, the salary minimum is the same for everyone. And then it can go up from there depending on the role, the size of the role, how good your agents are at negotiating, all of those things can determine how much money you make, but the union provides a base level so that no one is making less than a certain amount. Different kinds of contracts and what they provide, the protections that they provide, healthcare benefits, all of these things are structures that are kind of built into the industry that, as an artist, I'm thankful for because you can be taken advantage of very, very easily, especially if you're doing a production that is not backed by the union. So, yeah.
How do these unions operate? How do they come about? Is it like a group of people coming together to say, you know what, this is it, and this is how much a base salary should look like? How do unions
Well, the
operate?
unions have been in operation for a long time. I would say probably since the 1920s. That's kind of when they started. And so they've been in operation since then, and they grow and they shift. And, we have elections, we have councils, there's so many different arms of the union. For example, we have different councils for a Broadway production versus a regional production that's in maybe a small town in some other state that's not on Broadway. And so those different arms of the union will kind of negotiate on behalf of the actors with producers, with touring companies, with theater companies. So I don't know the inner workings of the union. I am not a part of those committees and all of those things. But we do have elections every year, and people can run to be the representative of a certain arm of the union and make sure the actors are getting what they need. And so that's something that happens consistently, is like, the elections and the negotiations and all of those things. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. The
Yeah.
unions,
No,
it's a
but
lot.
I think it's important. In fact, it's one of the things that I've always spoken about. I remember during COVID, we all were online. We're talking about, okay, how do we move forward from here? And one of the things I mentioned to I think the then director of the National Dance Ensemble at the National Theatre was that, for someone like me, maybe a private person who is trying to build something, if I call people and say, okay, everybody doing, running a dance studio, can we all come together and do this? Nobody is really ready to listen to you. But if it's coming from the government level or for an institution like the National Theatre that has so much influence, maybe people will listen. We will all want to listen to what you have to say, and then maybe we could start from there.
Yeah.
So I really strongly believe that unions, as you said, and maybe organizations, or they are important to have. Then we have a stronger voice, and then we can, make the change and speak to policies and and demand certain things that can help us or the industry grow. So I'm really happy to hear that something like this, is working in the U.S.
Yeah. It's working. And, as the industry shifts, there are major changes that are made. For example, in the TV film industry, AI is a big thing right now because people want producers, production companies want to be able to use AI actors. And of course, actors push back against that because we're human. We're here. We don't want to be replaced by something that you can do in a computer system. So that's a big thing that's happening right now, where there's a lot of back and forth and a lot of push and pull around what is going to be allowed, and making sure that you are reading your contract thoroughly and knowing what is allowed, so that you're not caught off guard by anything.
Yeah. No, we're going to come to the quality of life as of an artist. But before that, I'm just curious to know something, because for some of the productions that run on Broadway, I know they've run for some 30 years or even more.
Yeah.
I know Lion King has been running for almost like 30 years or more.
Yeah, Lion King has been running for almost 30 years. The
Yes.
longest running Broadway show was Phantom of the Opera. And right behind that is Chicago, and then Lion King. They're kind of neck and neck.
Yeah.
So those three, Phantom of the Opera is now closed, and it was the longest running. The Lion King still hasn't quite met their running time to beat Phantom of the Opera, but it's on the way.
But
It's on the way.
30 years.
Yes.
And it's running almost every day.
Every day.
Almost.
Every day.
In fact, I said almost, but in fact, it's...
Well, so a Broadway schedule is 8 shows a week.
8 shows a week.
Yeah, and the only day off is Monday. So there will be 2 days out of that week that you're doing 2 shows. So it's either Wednesday and Saturday. Some shows do Saturday and Sunday, but you're doing 8 shows a week. And during holidays, it's more. You might do 10 shows, 11 shows before you have a day off. So it's pretty grueling.
Full time.
Yes.
And for each production, the theaters are already filled.
Yeah.
So what makes that happen? What makes that reality be? Who are the people that are seeing these productions day in and day out?
Tourism. Broadway is a big tourist attraction. It would be a mistake to think that Broadway is being sustained by people who live in New York City. Broadway is mostly sustained by tourists from around the world, from around the U.S., who come to New York to see a Broadway show. And along with coming to see a Broadway show, that boosts the whole economy, because you're coming, you need a hotel, you're going to eat at restaurants, you're going to go see other things. And so that's a lot of tourism dollars coming into New York City. So that's really where it's being sustained is tourism dollars.
Wow. Now let's talk about the artists. I mean, you're talking about days, of an artist being on Broadway, performing to an audience, about 8 shows in a week.
Yeah.
And it's been running for years. What does that leave the artists, in their bodies, in their spirit, in their souls? How do they cope with this?
Yeah.
As you mentioned, you use the word, is it gruesome?
It's grueling.
A grueling word that you use. Like,
sometimes
because
it's
we know even... no, because really our bodies are asset, and even for addiction, that hours that you spend. We had only 2 shows.
Wow.
But for you, it's been days of show after show.
Yeah.
Weeks after weeks, months after months. Tell us.
Yeah. You have to be mentally, physically prepared for the expansion. I'll say it that way, that it brings, for the stretch that it requires. Talking about Lion King specifically, the show, I mean, you saw the show. It is physically demanding. And watching from the audience, it looks easy. It is not easy. Not by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It's very difficult. So the body has to be strong. I like to say, and this is the way I think about it, specifically The Lion King, the body has to be strong for the show, not because of the show. So you will get stronger. The show will make you stronger, but you have to come in with a certain level of strength already. Just because, I mean, the costumes, we're wearing things on our heads, we're wearing corsets, we're wearing so many things in that show. So many costumes on that show are a corset, and whatever the costume is sewn onto that. So you're wearing a tight corset, and then you have this big thing that you're also carrying. You have a headpiece, a head mount that you're wearing, lots of costume changes, lots of choreography. So there is a large amount of physical strength that you have to be aware of. You have to pay attention to your well-being. You have to eat well. The lovely thing about The Lion King is that there is a physical therapist on staff in the building at all times. So you can sign up for a physical therapy appointment if you need it, if something is hurting, if something's not, if something doesn't feel good, you can get that work done. And then outside of the show, you really just have to be mindful of how you're taking care of your body, working out daily, um, any kind of mental wellness that you do. A lot of people meditate, pray, you have to have your downtime so that you can just kind of collect yourself. On top of that, your diet has to be on point in order that you're physically strong and energized, and you have your proper nutrition. Um, it 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 takes a lot. It takes a lot. And, having all of those things in mind, your physical well-being, your mental well-being, your emotional stability, all of those things go into the show. It's not just you show up and you do the show. You really have to live your day in preparation for those 2.5 hours that you're going to be on stage. So not doing anything too exhausting during the day so that you have the energy to do the show in the evening. Your life revolves around the show.
Yeah.
Your life really does revolve
So
around the
what
show.
it means that whatever you do, I mean, also again affects the quality of the production you put
Right.
up. Because
Yeah.
if you don't take care of yourself, then you can't
Yeah. It won't be good.
give up the best
Yeah.
for the production.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I've often heard people insinuate this, that as artists you should be grateful for opportunities you are
Of
giving,
course.
and when it's like to get a role, it's like you should be happy that you got a role. So how much, no matter how much you are given, you should just be thankful that you got this role. Now, where or when does this almost become like offensive, to the entire existence of the artist? At least I know from your end, there again, the unions help these, help artists, or they are also agents that help you get the best. You're able to negotiate and get, the best for the work you put in. So I'm talking about that artist who hasn't reached that level yet.
Yeah.
How should we approach such artists?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how should these artists also take, or respond to some of these things that, what, you should be happy that you're getting some work to do. Or like, I cited an example where I had a client saying, they wanted us to do something for a fundraising at a very prestigious place. And they said, you know what, you're getting diplomats and all these people there. This is something you should do for free because you get to perform in front of these people.
Yeah.
What do we say about such things?
Well, are the diplomats paying the bills? Because, we get that a lot in the US as well. It's like you get the exposure, but exposure does not take care of me. At some level in your career, when you're in the beginning of your career or you're in the building stages, exposure is great. But you also have to be mindful that you have to live. You have to make a living. And so at some point, you have to decide, how much am I willing to take in the form of payment, or, however they're paying you? How much am I willing to take for what they want me to give? Because again, you're not just showing up and performing. That's years of training, years of study, commitment, the way you need to prepare your body and your mind in order to do the performance. So it costs a lot. It has already cost you a lot to even show up with the amount of skill and talent that you have. I think as an artist, one of the most important tools, one of the most powerful tools that we have is no. I think we have to be willing to say no. And I think, unfortunately, the industry kind of thrives on the desperation of actors, of performers. People so desperately want to be successful and to be seen and to be on certain stages that they're almost willing to put up with anything, take any small amount of pay, or even put up with any level of disrespect that they're experiencing. And I think we have to be willing as artists to draw a hard line and say, no, that is not enough money. That is not enough time of preparation. That is not enough. I think that when you're moving from one level to another in your career, I think in order to move to the next level, you have to be willing to say no to the things at this level so that you can make space for yourself on the new level. If you keep saying no to the small things, at some point people are saying, oh, well, that's all they need. That's what we'll keep offering them. You keep saying yes, you keep saying yes, you keep saying yes. And you're desperate to move to the next level, and it's not happening because you keep saying yes to the things on the smaller level, on the lower level. So I think that being willing to say no, being willing to push back, again, having a strong agent or manager in your pocket is amazing because they get to do the dirty work.
Tell us their role. Tell us the role of the agents. What role do they play beyond finding jobs?
Yeah. So the agents and the managers kind of play different roles. The agent's job is to find auditions. When you book something, negotiate the contract for you. Their job is to get you in as many rooms as possible so that you can be seen by as many people as possible so that when you book the job, you can then get the contract and then they negotiate the contract for you. The role of the manager is generally with an artist for a longer period of time. You can change agents. People change agents often, but generally a manager is going to be with you for a longer stretch of your career. And what they do is help build the overall arc of your career. So you'll sit with your manager and a good manager will ask you, what kinds of things do you actually want to do? What kind of stories do you want to tell? What rooms do you want to be in? Who do you want to work with? And they will kind of help put you on the trajectory to get to that long-term goal. Whereas the agent is sometimes just throwing spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. Let's get you in as many rooms as possible, get you seen as much as possible, get you as many jobs as possible. And a good agent is really going to care about you, but a lot of times agents just want to get you paid because that's how they get paid. The agents and the managers don't get paid unless you get paid. And that's a really big thing for young artists to know because there are a lot of scammers who will require that you're paying them money up front for things and you haven't even booked any work yet. And a lot of people get taken advantage of. So it's good to know that they get paid based on what you get paid. If you're not getting paid, nobody's getting paid. So,
yeah. We want to tour the world with addiction. So why are touring productions such a major part of theater economies abroad? Because I know you've been on tour. In fact, you went on ship for years.
I was on tour for a long time, yeah.
What would need to happen for more Ghanaian productions to successfully tour?
Well, there has to be partnership with, if you're wanting to tour internationally, partnership with touring companies internationally, production companies, theaters that would want to bring your show to their theater. It's really about exposure. People seeing the show, seeing how excellent it is, and then wanting to bring the show to their theater. And from then on, it's a numbers game. How much is that going to cost? How much does everyone need to be paid in order for that to happen? And the cost of the travel and all of those things. But it really would start with someone seeing the production and saying, okay, I want to bring this production to my theater or to my city, my country, whatever, and then figuring out the logistics of all of that.
Great. Now, just before we round up, because we're talking about touring and what somebody would see for them to say, this thing has potential.
Yeah.
I want to bring it to this theater. Let's talk about also, again, comparing that to shows that have run for all these years and also getting theaters filled. Would you say what creates audience loyalty? Is it the quality of the production? Would you say is maybe the quality of the production, the consistency of the experience, the marketing? What really drives or gives a production that opportunity?
Yeah.
Is it these things? Is it maybe the marketing? Is it the quality of the production itself or something maybe deeper than that?
Yeah, I would say all of the things that you mentioned. The first step is going to be someone seeing the production and seeing, oh, this is excellent. This is, I mean,
That's the best.
I
So we
saw,
have to put up excellent
yeah,
production.
it has to be excellent. It has to be excellent. I saw the production. I think it's amazing, but I also think that it's such a universal story. There's addiction everywhere. There's addiction to all types of things. And so I think it's a universal story that can be received anywhere in the world. That's the beauty of dance, is that everybody speaks the language of movement. That's the beauty of storytelling, is everybody can understand that story that's being told. So yes, the production has to be excellent, high quality, all of those things. Marketing is big too, because marketing puts it in front of people. If we don't know you exist, we don't know you exist, So marketing is the thing that says, hey, there's this thing happening. You should see it. It's amazing, So I think it's the excellence of the production, the marketing, and then just putting it out there for people to see and getting it in front of eyes, getting it in front of people who have the power, the money. A big part of this is money, to get it done, to bring it to their place, wherever they are. Yeah.
All right. It's been wonderful. It's been a wonderful conversation.
Yes.
If you were advising the next generation of Ghanaian theater makers, what is that, like, one practice from Broadway that you believe would genuinely transform our industry within the next 10 years?
I would say work with excellence in mind. At every level of the production, whether it's small, whether it's big, work with excellence in mind. I think that's the number one thing.
Excellence gets you in.
It gets you seen. It gets you remembered. It gets you remembered. That's the thing. It gets you remembered. When you do something well, even if the person who's seeing it at that moment doesn't have the ability to do anything, if they see it as excellent, they're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And they're going to tell somebody, and that person's going to tell somebody, and that person's going to tell somebody, and eventually it'll get around that this excellent thing is happening. You need to see it, So that's the thing. Excellence is the thing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful talking to you.
Okay. Yes.